So, let's just jump right in. The very fact that you're here watching this right now, well, it's probably not an accident. Out of all the millions of things you could be doing, you landed here. And the idea we're exploring today is that this wasn't random. It's more like a cosmic appointment, one you didn't even know you made.
So let's just ask that question point blank. Is it really a coincidence? A simple fluke of an algorithm? Or maybe, just maybe, have you been putting a question out into the universe, looking for a sign, for an answer, for a new way of seeing things?
And this brings us to a huge idea, one that echoes through ancient wisdom and even the work of famous psychologists like Carl Jung. The core concept is this: in a reality where everything is fundamentally connected, there's no such thing as a random event. There are only meaningful coincidences, what we call synchronicities.
Okay, so that leads to the big question. How does this work? It all boils down to a fundamental principle, the law of resonance, and it's a game changer. It basically says you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Let's unpack that, because it's everything.
You know, physics actually gives us the perfect way to understand this. It's called sympathetic resonance. Imagine you have two pianos in a room. If you hit a middle C on one piano, the C string on the other piano across the room will start vibrating all by itself. It won't touch the D string or the G string, only the C string. Why? Because they share the same frequency. The universe, according to this idea, works just like that.
To really get this, we have to make a huge mental shift. We're moving away from an old-school mechanical view of the world, where you're just a tiny leaf getting blown around by the winds of fate. We're moving into a quantum view, where reality isn't just happening to you, it's actually responding from you. You're not the leaf, you're the wind.
Think of yourself as a human radio station. You're constantly broadcasting a frequency with your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs. Now, if your dial is tuned to, say, Victim FM, where the playlist is all about scarcity, fear, and what's going wrong, well, that's the only kind of reality you're going to be able to tune into. But what happens if you consciously change the dial to Opportunity FM? The world doesn't change, but your experience of it absolutely does.
So if you're broadcasting a signal, what comes back? Well, that brings us to an even bigger idea. Your outer world is a perfect 360-degree mirror of your inner world.
And here is maybe the most important distinction we're going to talk about. You are the projector, not the screen. So often, when we don't like what's happening in our lives, we get angry at the screen, right? We yell at it, we try to change the images on the screen. But the screen is just a neutral surface. The real power, that's always in the projection booth.
Let's really look at this metaphor. Your conscious mind, the part of you that's listening right now, that's the projector. But the film running through it, the thing that actually creates the movie of your life, that's your subconscious beliefs. And get this, that's about 95% of the show. So if you want a different movie playing on the screen of your reality, you can't just wish for it. You have to go back and change the film.
Now you might be thinking, okay, I'm trying this, but nothing is changing. And that's a super common frustration. The source material explains this as a kind of time delay. Think of it like turning a giant ship. You turn the rudder, but it takes a while for the massive vessel to actually change course. Your current reality, it's really just the echo of your past thoughts and vibrations. The key is to hold that new frequency, to keep that rudder turned, and have faith that the ship is turning. So, if reality is this responsive system, if it's constantly mirroring us, how does it talk back? Well, it doesn't use English. It speaks a different language. The language of signs, symbols, and those meaningful coincidences.
And we're back to synchronicity. The classic story comes from Carl Jung himself. He was with a patient who had just described a dream about a golden scarab beetle. At that exact moment, a beetle, very similar to a scarab, started tapping on the window. For Jung, this wasn't just a coincidence. It was a bridge between the inner world and the outer world. It was basically the universe winking, saying, "Yep, I heard that."
A lot of people talk about seeing repeating numbers, right? 1111, 222, 444 on the clock. Now, you can see these as cosmic messages, or you can just see them as your brain's pattern recognition system kicking in. Either way, they work as these amazing little alarm bells, nudging you to stop and pay attention to what you were just thinking or feeling in that exact moment.
So how do you tell the difference between a real sign and just, wishful thinking? Here's a really simple rule of thumb. The first time something happens, it's just an event. The second time, okay, that's a coincidence. But if it happens a third time from a totally unrelated source in a short amount of time, that's when you should probably pay attention. The universe is trying to tell you something.
Okay, so we've talked about how to listen to reality. Now, let's shift gears and talk about how to actively create it. And maybe the most powerful creative tool you have is your own language.
You know that silly magic word, abracadabra? Well, it's not so silly. It's an ancient Aramaic phrase, and it literally translates to, I create as I speak. Think about that. It's not just a trick. It's a statement of how reality works. Your words aren't just describing your life, they're programming it. Every single sentence is a spell you're casting.
And this brings us to what might be the two most powerful words you can ever say. I am. That's not just a phrase. It is a declaration of being. The universe, or your subconscious, however you want to see it, doesn't have a sense of humor. It takes whatever follows I am as a direct command. So when you say, I am so tired, or I am broke, you're literally giving an order to make that your reality. You have to be so careful with these words. This is the huge difference between complaining and decreeing. When you complain, you're just affirming what you don't want, which anchors you deeper into that very problem. It's a negative affirmation. But a decree, that's a conscious, creative act. It's a declaration of the reality you choose to create. So how do you do it? Actually pretty simple. 3 key things. First, it has to be in the present tense. I am, not I hope to be. Second, it has to be positive. Say what you want, not what you don't want. So it's I am healthy, not I'm not sick. And third, and this is the secret ingredient, you have to feel it. Feel the gratitude of already having it. That feeling is the fuel that launches the command into the universe.
Phew, we have covered a lot of ground here, from resonance and mirrors all the way to the creative power of your words. And now, this final piece of the puzzle puts all of the power and all of the responsibility right back where it belongs with you.
And that brings us to this incredible metaphor. The library is closing. The laboratory is opening. What does that mean? It means the time for just learning, for passively gathering information. That time is over. This isn't about collecting cool theories. It's about personal experimentation. Your life, your job, your relationships, your health. That's your laboratory. Now it's time to test these principles for yourself.
And that really is the final takeaway, isn't it? The universe delivered the message. This information did its job. It found you. So the only question left, the one that only you can answer is, what are you going to do now? The dream is over. It's time to wake up and create.